Now your bare root rose has been in soak for around 12 to 24 hours in a bucket of rainwater. You're all clear to plant. However, if your situation changes and the weather throws you a curveball or something comes up that can't be avoided, don't panic too much. Your rose can stay in the bucket of water for a little bit longer if necessary. But as long as the ground is not frozen and it's not waterlogged, you're then clear to plant. And what you need to do next is dig yourself a nice decent sized hole. Roses have really large root systems and they're going to need to access to plenty of free soil. So dig yourself a nice large planting hole, something in the region of about 65 to 70 centimetres of diameter and around 65 to 70 centimetres in depth, depending on the size of the root system your plant has been delivered with. What you want to do is make sure that you're not squashing up the roots of the plant as you place them into the ground. You want to make sure that it has plenty of room to get itself established. So all I'm going to do now is simply dig out this large hole. As you can see, my soil here at North Lodge is really good. This ground has been mulched repeatedly over the last few years and now has a really lovely open and crumbly texture. So all I'm doing is placing the soil to one side, and I'll talk you through the next process in just a second. If you come across any large roots or large stones, now is the time to actually discard them and actually remove them from the hole completely. You don't want to be underneath the backfill, as they will damage your rose's chance of getting itself established properly. Right, I think we're just about there. You want to remove just a little bit more soil than you think you need to, because we're going to be adding some soil conditioner at this stage. If you can remember from the first part of this video, I said you're going to need around 25 litres of soil conditioner, well rotted horse manure or homemade garden compost at this stage. What we want to do is we just want to take a small amount of that, a couple of really good handfuls, and we want to throw that into the bottom of our planting pocket. Then with our digging fork, we're simply going to break up the bottom of the planting hole to make sure that it's not hard and compacted, and the rose has plenty of access to what we call free soil and can plunge its nice long strong roots down into the subsoil looking for water. So I'm just going to break up the bottom of the hole. You can see there, that's all nicely done. The extra soil conditioner I'm then simply going to turn out onto my garden soil, which I've taken out of the hole, and using my spade I'm simply going to turn that in and mix that in, adding plenty of organic matter to the soil that I'm just about to backfill into the into the hole. It's at this stage we want to be removing the rose from the actual bucket of water, just to make sure that our planting depth is absolutely ideal. Now over the last couple of years, advice on this has actually changed ever so slightly. Here in the UK we used to plant with the graft or union points above ground by about 2 or 3 inches. The advice now with our changing weather is to make sure that you're planting the graft or union point just below the ground by around 5 centimetres, which is about 2 inches. The grafting point is this part here where the plant was originally budded, and you want to be burying it out to around this sort of depth to make sure it's protected from the elements and from the cold, more importantly. So when we place our rose into the hole, we want to make sure that our level point is just below ground level and that graft is placed around 2 inches, about 5 centimetres below ground, and the roots are all nice and spread out. What you don't want to be doing is squashing the roots up and causing them to go round and round and round. So do make sure you get this stage through, and if you need to go back to it, please do, and take a little bit more soil out of the hole and give it another go. My hole is looking absolutely perfect and it's now ready for planting. The next stage is to then add our mycorrhizal fungi, and 1 sachet of this from David Austin Rose is enough to plant around 3 plants. This is not so critical if you're actually planning to grow your rose in a pot, because this kind of product actually benefits the symbiotic relationship between the bacteria in the soil and the rose and enhances the root growth. What you want to do is we want to make sure that you're not taking the rose out of the bucket of water too soon and it remains in the bucket for as long as possible, because you actually need to sprinkle the mycorrhizal fungi over the root system and not into the hole or to the soil. So the rose actually at this stage needs to be wet. So I'm just going to swap hands and hold my rose with my left hand, and with the mycorrhizal fungi I'm simply going to sprinkle it over the root system of the plant. I say 1 sachet of this is enough to do 3 roses, so it's 1/3 of a sachet that's going to be applied, and you can see that fungi has actually stuck all the way across the root system, so it's now absolutely perfect. Now I'm going to place this rose into the hole, making sure that I can see the label, and pop my gloves back on, and I'm simply now going to backfill around the plant itself. I say, what I've done is I've added a good quantity of organic soil conditioner to the hole, to the media that I've taken out of the hole. That's all now mixed in, and I've got a little bit left in my bucket. So with my non-dominant hand, I'm going to hold the rose in place, and I'm simply going to backfill around it, making sure that all the soil goes between those lovely long roots and fills all of the pockets as well. With my fists, I'm going to ball them up, and I'm going to push the rose down into the hole, making sure it has really good contact with the soil. Bringing all that soil in, including that soil conditioner, back around the rose, making sure that that graft point, that union point, ends up something in the region of 5 centimetres or 2 inches just below the soil. If it's a little ploughed, don't worry too much. Don't think you'll have to dig the rose up. What you can do over it in future years is then give it a really good mulch. What I'm going to do now is I'm simply going to firm the rose in with the heel of my boot. Don't worry about being too gentle with it at this stage. You don't want to be treading on the rose itself, but you do want to make sure that it has really good contact with the soil, and this is a stage you don't want to skip. If you wanted to, you can do it with the balls of your fist. You can see there the soil level is sunk quite substantially around the plant. I'm just going to bring in a little bit more backfill, make sure that that is all covered up nicely. The last 2 stages are really important, and no matter what the weather is doing, whether it's really wet or whether it's dry, make sure that you water your rose in well with at least 1.5 to 2 gallons of water. Give it a thoroughly good drink. At this point, you want to make sure it has really good contact with the soil structure around it, to make sure that it's actually got good contact, and the small roots that you're expecting to grow will actually start growing just as soon as the weather is warm enough. As soon as that water is soaked in, what I can then do is go over with my little bit of soil conditioner that's left over and give the plant a thoroughly good mulch. Not only incorporating more organic matter and soil conditioner around the plant, giving it the best possible start, but also sealing in that precious moisture and suppressing the weeds around the base of the plant. This is a perfect way, if you've planted your plant ever so slightly too high, of making sure that union point is covered up, especially in the first couple of seasons. If you have any questions about the planting of bare root roses, don't hesitate to leave me a comment below. I hope you've enjoyed today's tutorial, and I will see you all again very soon. Take care now. Bye bye.